So, what's the plan? Alright, so my husband wants me to sew this back onto his pants. But I think I could spare him an upgrade. But he's left it here on the bed, so that I can be reminded that there's some upcoming mending. Alright, I went to Walmart and purchased these bags, which I like very much. This is the jumbo, almost 3 gallon. So it's a 2.5 gallon bag, and I knew that 10 was not going to be enough, so I got a double box, and this is a treat for myself. And you will see in upcoming videos how I am going to use these bags to isolate projects, and we're going to see what kind of outcome that is. This is the real reason I have got my camera out today, and I'm working towards getting got a pattern here called a double 9-patch. And the way they've got the 9-patch drawn out is there's like a small 9-patch square, and then the whole thing becomes a larger 9-patch option. So I'm thinking that looks a little simple, doable, not too intimidating. And then I started trying to figure out what fabrics I was going to use. Now, in my last video was the inventory from where I began my original stash. So I have some of those fabrics in this mix. I'm not sure about these two, so that's why they're on the bottom. But I've got this fabric that has a slight floral pattern, and they're stains, so I'm going to be chopping all that out. And then I've got these floral patterns, and the theme, there we go. Got this color scheme, and the theme is simple floral, like lace, but very subtle, because I want this to be a masculine quilt, because maybe if one of my sons or my husband will enjoy having a quilt like this. They all seem to like blue. And this is one of my old shirts from my original stash, and this is one of my husband's shirts. It came out of service. He wore it to death, people. But I, of course, kept the fabric. Don't tell him. But kept the fabric for this kind of project. Alright, now, contrary to how the pattern is, and maybe I'm screwing up, feel free to put that in the comment, but they've got the large spaces with embroidery, and I don't want to mess with embroidery on this. I'm just wanting to keep it kind of plain, like this is my first quilt, y'all. But I'm wanting to kind of make my big squares plaids, gingham, whatever. My big squares plaids, and then my small squares have solids. And then the tiny center, I want it to be these florals, these small. I want to use these sparingly. But I like the color combo. I might keep those together and use those in another project. But minimal on these. That's going to be like the center. Now in this kit, someone used some plastic and wrote on there where I need to cut and where I need to sew, and which way the fabric needs to go. So I appreciate that, whoever did this. Like an instructional kit, I guess. Alright, so I've kind of tried to lay it out in the way that I thought would be appealing. And I'm trying to use just a few fabrics from the new stash. Well, yeah. These plaids and these shirts and the dress and just a few of these solid blues are from the new stash. Now, I really need to give the new stash a name. I jokingly have referred to my acquisition as a hippo-sized amount of fabric. So maybe I could just call my new stash the hippo stash. And I'm not sure what I would call the original stash, but the original stash. So very few bits of hippo in this. A lot of this is the material that I started out with. Like I had said previously, I got this from a Walmart back when I was still in high school with the intention of making a quilt. And here I am, guys. It's been over 20 years since I graduated high school, but I am doing it. I'm doing what I set out to do. How many people out there can say they have a work in process that is over 2 decades old? Well, probably a lot, but maybe for someone my age, how many people can say they have a 20-year work in progress? And as I was going through my stash, my original stash, there's these pair of pants that were my son's when he was little, and of course he wore the love out of them. And they began to rip, and I like the little anchor. And the fabric is cotton, which I'm very excited about. But ironically, a bit of the hippo matches perfectly. Can you see how perfect? The only thing is this doesn't have an anchor and this does. So I'm wondering, I'm not sure how much of this I can rescue. But I'm going to make an attempt. And so this is coming into this first quilt. Mom's first quilt. Now I had looked at, I've got a few solid shirts. These are shirts that were my son's when he went to church, but they're so faded. They've got some stains. I'm going to incorporate those into my solids. But I had this bit. This was my husband's old shirt. Again, don't tell him I have this still. But this, it's more of a corduroy. It's a heavy flannel. It's a very mild corduroy, almost a flannel shirt. Don't know what you call that, but you can see we can get a texture in here. It is kind of a corduroy. It's just not a very deep, I don't know what you call it, deeply ribbed, deeply grooved corduroy. But I bet I could read through this. Can you see my hand? But he wore the love out of it. I don't know if that's a saying, but I mean, this was one of his work shirts, and he worked it all right. But that's part of the story. You know, how many times had he worn this shirt? Oh, it makes me all sentimental because I can remember when he wore this. And I would have loved to put this because, you know, it's got the colors and it's got the plaid going on. But it being a thicker fabric, it doesn't really match these fabrics, which are quite thin. This one's got a little more weight to it. These ones I got from Walmart so long ago. But we're going to see, guys. I might make an attempt, but I don't know. I don't know about mixing the textures. Maybe if I had some more of this texture to put some consistency, or maybe this can be the internal block. But I really kind of wanted to add a little bit of the floral, especially this one. Wanted to really get rid of that as much as I could. But, you know, maybe as I'm cutting and piecing, I'm going to change my mind. And that's not sure what to do with corduroy. As I've been going through the hippo, I haven't found a lot of corduroy. Did find some of the heavier fabrics that you would use for upholstery, and maybe I can salvage something that way. So y'all are welcome to tell me what you think, but maybe by the time some people get to see this video, I would have already started cutting. And that's alright. I appreciate everyone watching my videos, and hopefully now the next stage it's going to be getting this bad boy up and running and starting some seams. Wish me luck, guys, because the next stage is cutting out the little squares.